the fundamental light is something Allah empowered you and me with already. So somebody's saying, Ustad, I just don't have Iman, I don't know what to do. First thing you should do is stop lying to yourself. That's probably the first step, because you have it, you just don't want to use it. There's something inside, it's already there. Allah wouldn't be asking you to double-click that file in your hard drive if the file didn't exist already. You understand? So he says, يَسْعَى نُورُهُمْ بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَبِأَيْمَانِهِم. This is a very powerful thing because people feel when it comes to spiritual growth that they're powerless. Some people just have it and I just don't got it. And that's a cop-out. That's something Allah is now removing from our wrongful thinking, in terms of our faith. I told you, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. You remember, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا was an umbrella term that included 3 groups of people, and the third group had an A and a B. Do you remember that? Right? So even people that are visibly believers, even if their faith has withered up or dried up on the inside, they're included in that too. But on Judgment Day, how you were labeled on the outside is actually irrelevant. On Judgment Day, how I saw you and you saw me no longer matters. I see you as a believer, you see me as a believer. All of those labels and all of that benefit of the doubt, all of that is gone. Because Judgment Day is not about how we see each other. Judgment Day is about how Allah sees us directly, without all the filters, without all the social filters and the protections. None of them are there. In fact, the hypocrites, Allah describes the fact that they consider themselves Muslim is like a shield. اتَّخَذُوا أَيْمَانَهُمْ جُنَّةً. They took their faith, their oath, meaning their Islam, as a shield. In this life, it is a shield. But on Judgment Day, does anybody get to have a shield before Allah? No. تَرَكْتُمْ مَا خَوَّلْنَاكُمْ. You've left behind all the wrappings you were covered in. You're unwrapped. You're completely vulnerable. And so now Allah doesn't use the phrase الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who believed, the verb form. He actually uses the nominal, the noun form, al-mu'minina wal-mu'minat, believing men and believing women. What's the difference between using the verbal form and the nominal form? I'll explain this in English to you guys. If I say he teaches, that's a verb or a noun? Teaches, that's a verb. But if I say he's a teacher, is that a verb or a noun? Now that's a noun, right? So teaches is a verb and teacher is a noun. Now if I say he teaches, that means maybe he teaches on the weekends. Maybe he teaches sometimes. It's not a permanent thing. Maybe he teaches part-time. Maybe he teaches just in the summer, right? The verb is temporary. A verb, an act, doesn't define you because it's limited in its scope, either by the present or by the future or by the past or by the circumstance. It's limited. But when you call somebody a teacher, then you've kind of described a part of their identity. That's part of who they actually are, Like when you talk to somebody and you say, who are you? They say, I'm so-and-so. I'm Zainab. I'm Ahmed. I'm Kareem. Then you say, what are you? And they say, I'm a gamer, right? Or they say, I'm a TikToker. Or I'm a blogger. Basically meaning I'm a useless human being that has no purpose in this universe. I'm a teacher. I'm something. I'm something. But that is part of their identity, is it not? When Allah describes the believers, not those who believed. That's the verb. Those who believed. That's the verb. But now the noun is being used. Believer, male believers and female believers. That's the phrase that's being used. Believing men and believing women as a noun. You know what that means? These were the people that internalized that faith to the point that it became a part of their identity, coursed through their veins. They had it for real. It was solid within them. It was stable within them. Yes, faith goes up and down. And teachers have good days and bad days. Some days they're better teachers than other days. Isn't that what happens? But at the end of it all, they're still a teacher, aren't they? There are some people, yes, they'll have spiritual, fluctuation in their faith. Maybe Fridays will be higher than Saturdays. Ramadan will be higher than post-Ramadan. That'll happen. But at the core of it, there's a minimum temperature heat that maintains. That faith is there. And that's what characterizes them as al-mu'mineen. It doesn't mean they have the same level of faith all the time, but it does mean they maintain at least a minimum spiritual energy within them. And Allah said, and that energy, that constancy that they develop, that minimal constancy that they develop, that is now how they are being described on Judgment Day. So what used to be inside has now come outside. It used to be batin. Iman used to be batin. But on Judgment Day, Iman will become zahir. And in the beginning, in Al-Awwal, it used to be batin. And in Al-Akhir, it will become zahir. Why am I using these words? Because Allah said about Himself what? هُوَ الْأَوَّلُ وَالْآخِرُ وَالظَّاهِرُ وَالْبَاطِنُ. Right? So now Iman, that is hidden inside my chest, will become batin. It will become zahir. It will become apparent on Judgment Day. Then you will notice here that Allah said, Al-mu'mineen wal-mu'minat. Al-mu'mineen wal-mu'minat. Believing men and believing women. Now you should know something about the Arabic constructions. When you say believers, al-mu'mineen, the masculine plural form, jama' mudhakkar salim, when you use that form in Arabic, it includes men and women. It's actually inclusive of men and women. When you say al-mu'minat, it's exclusively women. So if I say, Ya ayyuhal muslimun, Ya ayyuhal Muslims, does that include men and women or no? Yes. But if I say, Ya ayyatuhal muslimat, then it only includes the women. So in plural form, generally speaking, the grammatical masculine in Arabic is inclusive and the feminine is exclusive. The point I'm making is if it's inclusive and we just said al-mu'mineen, if I said al-mu'mineen, that it would have included women already, wouldn't it? And why you have to go out of your way and mention what? Al-mu'minat. We have to pay attention to that because it was already included. So it's being mentioned kind of Allah is going out of his way to mention it. Okay? Al-mu'mineen wal-mu'minat. Ibn Ashur's theory on this is, in Madani Quran, Allah went out of his way to show the role of women and the status of women in many matters being equal to the status of men. And that's why Allah highlighted them, especially even though grammatically there's no need to specially outline them. And Judgment Day, the light is coming, and you shouldn't think that the light is coming from believing men and not believing women, and or women are just kind of secondly included. No, especially also believing women. In fact, it's as if the women are being given a special honor in this ayah. You will notice this as a continuous theme in these 9 surahs, from Surah Al-Hadid all the way to Surah At-Tahrim. The subject of women will come up over and over again. In fact, women are a major subject in the Quran. Quranic studies, women are a major theme. Recently, I read a book on women in the Quran. I'm not going to tell you the name of the book. It was horrible. It was so bad. It was so bad because somebody was like really woke and they wanted to woke the Quran and they put their brain to sleep to be woke, right? And they wrote, this is a horrendous piece of work, horrendous. And they just wanted to, because now there's a new theme in gender wars in media and in movies and everywhere else, right? So you'll notice that a lot of male actors in movies are now acting very feminine and a lot of female actors are acting very masculine, right? So and that's kind of this new age kind of thing about, you could be a 5-year-old girl and she beats up 10 guys with swords and then she goes, ha, and girl power, that kind of thing. And the guy's like, I'm so nervous right now. I'm just really in my feelings at the moment. I'm triggered. And she says, come on, let's go. And then, not that I watch movies, but it's for Islamic reasons. Anyway, but the point regardless is that women have been highlighted very especially. And we should study the Quran not in reaction to what's happening in the world. So we shouldn't say, okay, I'm going to look into the Quran and see how much of women's live or feminism or equal rights can I find in the Quran, because you already came to the Quran with a bias. Or if you come from a very traditional patriarchal society where men have a very high role and women are basically treated like trash, not even recycled, then you want to reinforce that and you're going to come to the Quran to maintain your patriarchal view. That's also a bias, right? And both of them are a disservice to the book of Allah. Kalimatullahi al-ulya, the word of Allah is supreme. And you might find that the word of Allah is more liberal than you would like it to be in some places. And you might find that the word of Allah is more conservative than you would like it to be in other places. And it's just how it's going to be. And you often see people being they're like, the moment they hear something culturally they're not used to, oh, this is a new agenda in the Quran. These people are introducing a new agenda in the Quran. No, actually, you're not allowing the Quran to speak for itself or the Sunnah to speak for itself. And in other places, we're pushing into the Quran something that's not there, just to meet with our new standards of social justice, right? And we can't fall into that trap because our Rabb is Allah, not the culture, right? So, يَوْمَ تَرَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ is an important study, the role of believing men and believing women as distinct from each other. So Al-Ahzab is a really good place to study that in detail. Anyway, another observation is Allah says, يَسْعَى نُورُهُمْ, their light will be running forward. I'll come back to that. We'll read some of the Mufassirun on what do they mean by the light coming forward. I will share my own thoughts with you first on this, and then we'll read what the scholars have said about it. There are two lights being mentioned. There's a light from in front of you and there's light on your right hand. I would argue the most compelling interpretation of this to me seems to be Allah has already mentioned believe and spend. Hasn't He said believe and spend? And what is spent is what you legitimately earn, right? If you stole and spent, it's not really sadaqah. And when you earn legitimately, that is earning by your right hand. And the right hand is also a manifestation of good deeds. And the right hand is also a literary construct in Arabic for fulfilling your oaths. Like, قَدْ أَخَذَ مِيثَاقَكُمْ, because when you take an oath, أَخَذَ الْيَمِينَ, they took the oath with their right hand. Right? Nowadays we say we shook hands on it. It's not the left hand you shook, it's the right hand that you shook, right? Oaths are also taken in court, not with the left hand, but with the right hand. And that's something in ancient cultures, it's in Arabian culture too. It's a part of the phenomenon. Allah also mentioned previously, وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. Allah knows what you do. And Allah also said, Allah knows what's in the chest. So what I'm getting at is, Allah talked about faith and then actions, and then faith and then actions, and then faith and then actions, multiple times. What's in the chest is faith. What you do is your actions. Believe is faith. Spend is an action. So faith and action, faith and action. And Judgment Day comes and there's a light coming from in front of you, meaning from your chest, which must be the light of your what? Your faith. And there's a light coming from your right hand, or right in front of you, right by your right side, which must be the light of your what? Actions. Also, the deeds that you do, the good deeds that you do, are written into your book, which on Judgment Day will be handed to you. If you did well, your book will be handed to you where? In your right hand. So the right hand has the book that has all the good deeds you did, and those good deeds turn into light on Judgment Day. Those good deeds are becoming light. The more good deeds you did, the more light's coming out of your right hand. And the more good deeds you did, it's probably because you had really strong faith. So the light in front of your chest is emanating even more. You understand? So both of those are corresponding to each other. The light of our faith, the light of Iman, and the light of the right hand. And now go back to what Allah said in the previous passage, right in the center, in the heart of the section 2. He said, هُوَ الَّذِي يُنَزِّلُ عَلَىٰ عَبْدِهِ آيَاتٍ بَيِّنَاتٍ لِيُخْرِجَكُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. In this life, Allah, the purpose of revelation is to pull us out of darknesses into light. And we talked about darknesses and light last time. But now we add a new dimension to that. Judgment Day will be darknesses. Darkness on top of darkness on Judgment Day. And then Allah, those who follow this revelation, Allah has given them the light. And the light is actually twofold. He's given us light on, in front of us and to the right. And I'm kind of breaking the surprise, but towards the end of the surah, Allah will say, يُؤْتِكُمْ كِفْلَيْنِ مِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ وَيَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ نُورًا. He'll give you 2 portions of His mercy. 2 portions. And how many lights are being described here? 2 lights. Isn't that beautiful? By the end of the surah, He'll tie it all up and He'll say, كِفْلَيْنِ مِنْ رَحْمَتِهِ وَيَجْعَلْ لَكُمْ نُورًا. Anyway, so that's something about the light that, before we read the scholars, is something that I want you to know from my perspective on this. Now, the idea of nuruhum, Allah didn't say light will come out from in front of them and they're right. He said their light, their light. So there's a difference between saying light and their light. That means the light belongs to who? It belongs to them. Now, let me ask you this. Do you understand this concept? This is a very powerful concept. If Allah tells me to spend, doesn't that mean Allah has given me the power to make money? Because if He told me to spend, I must be empowered enough to have money to begin with to be able to spend. If I never had anything to begin with, how can I spend? You understand? So who has the power to earn the money? Who's been enabled and empowered to actually have wealth or to have talent? We have been. We've been empowered, yes? When Allah says believe, He said spend. You can't spend unless you're empowered to have the money. If He says have faith, then that must mean you have all the potential, all the capability within you, everything needed to actually have what? Faith. Iman is not something that's just coming from the heavens and had nothing to do with you. Allah decided, I don't have Iman, what can I do? Make dua, Allah put Iman in my heart. Hold on, buddy. Yes, in fact, when He told you to have Iman, Allah wouldn't be telling you to have Iman if it's something He does. If it's just up to Him, then He could just say, okay, I put it on you, you have it now. But the fact that He told you to have Iman means you have the power to have faith. So the amount of light I have inside me and the amount of light I nourish in my chest is actually up to who? It's up to me. And what is proving that in this ayah? Yas'a nuruhum. Yas'a nuruhum. Their light is coming out. light that belong to them. Allah reveals a light. Allah empowers your light. Allah increases your light. That's what He does. He enhances the light. He increases people in guidance, for example. يزيدهم خشوعا زادتهم إيمانا نور على نور. Those are enhancements of light, but the fundamental light is something Allah empowered you and me with already. So somebody's saying, Ustad, I just don't have iman, I don't know what to do. First thing you should do is stop lying to yourself. That's probably the first step, because you have it, you just don't want to use it. There's something inside, it's already there. Allah wouldn't be asking you to double-click that file in your hard drive if the file didn't exist already. You understand? So He says, يَسْعَى نُورُهُمْ بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَبِأَيْمَانِهِمْ. This is a very powerful thing, because people feel when it comes to spiritual growth that they're powerless. Some people just have it and I just don't got it. And that's a cop-out. That's something Allah is now removing from our wrongful thinking, in terms of our faith. So يَسْعَى نُورُهُمْ بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَبِأَيْمَانِهِمْ. And finally here I've written a note, النور الحقيقي والمعنوي, which means on Judgment Day, actually the light will physically feel like a light. An actual light in the dark, and you're walking towards Jannah because there's a light in front of you, and the light isn't all the way, it's not like the whole highway is lit. Imagine you have a flashlight or a torch, and if you have it, the light only goes so far, right? And depending on the strength of your light, some people can see 5 feet ahead, some people can see 500 feet ahead, some people can see a mile ahead, depending on the strength of their light, right? And if back in the day, people used to have a torch, right? They lit the fire and they have a torch. What's the danger of having a torch? Over time, what might happen? The oil might run out, the fire might go out, a breeze might come and take it away. If you have a flashlight today and you're walking in the woods, what's the danger? The battery could die, right? So it's not like it's guaranteed that the light's going to stay. It could flicker out. So in Surah Al-Tahrim, we're going to find that this light that they're walking in, they're worried that it's not going to last. So they ask Allah as they're walking, the believers ask Allah as they're walking, رَبَّنَا أَتْمِمْ لَنَا نُورَنَا. Could you make our light complete for us? Because even though I had light, I had some faith, you had some faith, we had some good deeds, maybe the battery for our faith and our good deeds wasn't good enough to get us all the way to Jannah. I mean, it's good, but it's 1 mile good, it's half a mile good, but the walk is 10 miles. What are you going to do? Ya Allah, could you extend the battery life on this? So now what we're learning is Judgment Day salvation is about my efforts, my faith, my deeds, but in the end, that alone isn't enough. Who's going to complete the light? That's Allah. But you have to have light of your deeds and light of your faith to begin with for Allah to complete it. You have to have yours to begin with for it to be added to. You can't have nothing and say, Ya Allah, a little light please. I got nothing over here. No, atmim lana nurana means the light's already there. Ya Allah, complete it for us. Right? So that's an-nur al-haqiqi. An-nur al-ma'nawi means actually this light in this life didn't look like physical light. It's not like when you turn the light off at home and you go to bed, your chest is like illuminating the room and your right hand is illuminating your room. You're like, so annoying, I can't sleep. Too much iman. Like, it's a spiritual light right now. It's within you right now, right? And where does that come from? These two things feed each other. The basic point, instead of getting super philosophical, these two things feed each other. What I feel about Allah and how my heart is attached to Allah depends on what I do. Prayer will help. Charity will help. Good company will help. Listening to a reminder will help. All of those things are me using my right hand. Fulfilling my promise will help. Doing the ethical thing will help. You know, the way I describe good deeds and spirituality is very similar to what Allah has done in nature with the body. The soul is similar to the body in some ways. The body is made up of multiple muscles. Yes? Your shoulders, your arms, your back, all through. You're made up of multiple muscles. The more when you exercise a muscle, it's sometimes it has to be uncomfortable for you to be able to get stronger. If you're a runner and you run for the first time, you're going to be, panting in 30 seconds. But the next day you'll last 35 seconds, and the next day 45 seconds, and the next day 2 minutes. The more you run, the stronger you're getting. Is that true or no? But in order to get stronger, you have to hit the point of discomfort and break it. You have to reach your breaking point every time. And that's the only way your stamina is going to build, isn't it? And the more you're exercising it, the stronger you're getting all around. Now, imagine someone who lied down in a bed and decided not to get up for a year. They're just going to lie in bed for 1 year. Food will be brought to them. Clothes will be brought to them. I don't know what the bathroom situation is, but some kind of technology was developed for them. They are not getting out of bed. For example, sometimes there are people in a coma, aren't they? And they're in a coma for 6 months, 8 months. What happens to them when the coma is over? Are they able to stand up? Because if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose it. The more you use it, the more you get an enhanced ability to use it. Your ability to use it gets better and better. And the less you use it, your ability goes lesser and lesser. Good deeds are a cycle. The more you do them, the stronger you get. Meaning the more you do them, the stronger your iman gets. The iman is your fuel. The stronger your iman gets, you're able to do more good deeds. And the more good deeds you do, then end up strengthening, because cardio, you're using your legs, you're using your body, but it's actually strengthening your heart and your lung capacity. It's strengthening you from within somewhere else. It's not just strengthening your legs. And it's because you can retain more oxygen in your blood and you're oxygenating better, you can function better. Your battery life has increased. The same way good deeds are making you spiritually stronger. And then you're doing more of them and it's making you stronger. And this cycle, this is the virtuous cycle. This is the virtuous cycle. But what happens when someone is doing exercise, using the body analogy, they're doing good exercise, but they're eating junk food? What happens? Are they making progress still? Even if they are, they're not moving forward. They move a little forward, they move 5 steps back. Then they move a little forward, they move 5 steps back. Because you can't just do the good, you have to also remove the bad. So in order for me to develop this light on my right hand, I have to kind of lessen the activity of the left hand, bad deeds. The people who will get their book handed to them in their left hand. That's the only way these lights are going to develop and nurture and further. And that's the formula Allah gave us in يَسْعَى نُورُهُمْ بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَبِأَيْمَانِهِمْ.